Bonjour à tous et bienvenue sur la chaîne Olivier Gaming. Et vous voyez, on n'a pas de bol pour commencer cet épisode. Puisque dès le départ, on se retrouve avec des petits branleurs qui veulent nous abîmer la tête. Hey! Oh, joli! Wow! Oh, mais c'est qu'il sait y faire aussi, c'est voir. Alors, normalement, aujourd'hui, nous devons retourner à Yokohama 99. Et il m'en empêche un petit peu. Regardez ça, hein, j'ai toujours des ennemis près de moi. En fait, ils veulent pas que je passe. Hein. Ah, je suis de l'autre côté. Merde. Je suis pas dans le bon sens. Bon, bah, on va recommencer pour un petit combat. Marquez, ça fait du bien. Moi, j'aime bien. Oh, faire attention à celui-là. Autant l'avoir, il avait un sabre. Allez, je vais prendre les miches. Oh, bah lui, il a un flingue, carrément. Ouais, je m'en sers aussi bien que Bruce Lee. Regardez ça un peu. Oh! Tu m'as touché là, mec! Alors.
Really, guys?
Essayons. Non, bah c'était bien par là. Allons-y. C'est peut-être mieux de passer par ici. On va les éviter comme ça. Excusez-moi. Il y a de la circulation aujourd'hui, hein. Alors, souvenons-nous que dans le dernier épisode... Oula, j'allais oublier ça. Du coup, ils vont venir m'embêter, je suppose. Voilà. Oh oui, joli saut! Eh les gars, on est sur la route, c'est pas bon. Eh, tu m'as mis un coup de pied? Ça servait pas à grand chose. Hein. Oh oui, on y va. Donc normalement, notre ami Kusumo, je crois, hein, c'est Kusumo, doit nous donner des téléphones pour pouvoir appeler la chef des RK, Reiko Kusumoto ou un truc comme ça. J'ai un peu de mal avec les prénoms, les noms chinois. Merci.
Hey, got those burner phones ready?
Of course I do. Who do you think I am?
I still don't fully get what's going on. Yagami-san, what are we gonna do with these?
Okay, I'll break it down. First, we call Kawana on one phone. Let's say this one here. Then we use this other phone to call Reiko Kusumoto, using them that way. The phones won't be connected to each other, but their voices will be relayed so they can talk normally.
Oh, okay. And then?
If public security finds out Reiko Kusumoto's talking to Kawana, they'll trace the call without actually finding him. And we can see exactly who they send without risk of being seen ourselves.
I think I'm getting it.
Surely you don't intend to do that here, do you? That would put a beacon on us for Kawana-san's enemies.
Yeah, we'll do it somewhere remote. We need a place where nobody would raise an eyebrow at an army of public security boys. And it's gotta have a good vantage point.
There's a building under construction not far from here. It's late, so no one should be around that may get involved unintentionally.
Where is it?
It's right near Seirio High. There's a crane by the river, too. You'll know when you see it.
Okay, you two stay put. I should be able to handle this alone.
You sure about that?
Let me at least put out a drone, Yagamishi, even if it isn't much. I'll use it to capture the faces of Kawana-san's pursuers.
Ça marche.
That'd be good.
Bon bah on est parti, nouvelle petite mission. Ah bah le chien il est là. Salut le chien. Mais j'ai pas besoin de toi. Donc je suppose que je dois prendre un taxi. Je pars. D'accord, il faut que j'aille là. Voilà, c'est la zone. Et puis bah, il va me mettre ici. Ok, bah on y va, c'est parti. Oh bah attendez les gars. Il y avait une vis là, ou quelque chose. Oh, oh lolo. Elle s'est arrêtée juste comme il fallait la voiture là. Ouh, j'ai eu très peur. Ça va, il me souffle pas après. Voilà, j'y suis.
This must be the construction site Tsukumo was talking about.
Ah, Tsukumo nous a prévu son drone, comme il l'a dit.
This is Tsukumo. Yagami-shi, I've confirmed your position.
Yeah.
Fais un joli
I think I
sourire
can
à la
spot
caméra.
whoever comes close from here.
Oui, t'es bien placé là.
I'm gonna call Kawana on the burner now.
Understood. It's Kuwana.
You ready? I'm about to call Reiko Kusumoto. Once you're connected, you take it from there.
It's been 5 years since I last spoke to her.
Yeah. Can't imagine this won't be awkward.
I know. Okay, do it.
Il ressemble un peu à Yagami, mais en plus jeune, le gamin.
Yes, hello?
This is Kitakata from Kurakawa Academy.
What?
You'll have to forgive me for this, but the position I'm in required me to reach out to you. I would never have done this otherwise. I should also note, there's a high probability this phone call is being tapped.
I see. Very well, then.
It's been 13 years, Kusumoto-san.
So it has.
Kitakata-sensei. I've read about your accomplishments. To think you'd become a vice minister.
You never really know how things are going to work out.
Ah, but that's not true at all, Kusumoto-san.
Ça fait 13 ans que le gamin il est en nom commun.
I've got to be honest with you. A woman as virtuous and as capable as you deserves the world and then some.
Et ils ont mis 8 ans pour... Enfin, c'est tant qu'il avait son affaire, lui.
I'm afraid he's still...
Quand il s'est mis...
Nothing's changed.
Quand il a voulu commencer à faire son petit...
I wish I had the words.
son petit manège, il a fallu y attendre 8 ans.
If you've been watching the news, you've probably already heard. I've become a prime suspect for a crime. They think I murdered Yokosawa in her apartment.
I've heard.
Obviously, it wasn't me who killed her, of course. Do you happen to remember Sawa-kun by any chance?
The girl from your class. She was the only one of those students who ever came to visit Mitsuru. But even then, that's been at least 10 years now. I got a letter from her once. She wanted to tell me she'd become a teacher. But I never did reply. And that was the last I'd heard from her.
I see.
So back to my question.
Alors si elle est mise sur écoute, c'est que cet appel-là et le fait de parler comme ça de ce qui s'est passé,
I'm afraid the answer would...
c'est pas bon pour elle non plus, quoi.
It's not that, it's just...
C'est ça que je comprends pas,
I
là.
wanted to let you know that at some point, someone
Elle
makes
va avoir des ennuis, la petite dame.
questions about me, I thought I should give you a heads up. I'll make every effort to ensure they won't cause any trouble for you, Kusumoto-san. I'm sorry about this. I'll try to handle it from my side.
So in your opinion then, do you believe anything related to you could cause me any trouble?
Don't worry. I'm sure you'll be just fine.
We're almost to the signal. Kill the headlights.
2 cars.
C'est Akutsu?
Looks like we were.
Non, il a une voix plus
This proves Reiko Kusumoto's phone is compromised.
sombre, Akutsu,
One
non?
organization capable of tracing a call and moving on it.
Ça lui ressemblait pas en
It's
plus.
gotta be public security on the hunt for Kawana.
Public security is really coming straight to you?
Mais il est peut-être là, il y a 2 voitures.
No, there's no way they can mobilize their people that quick.
Bah non, c'est les RK qui sont
My
là.
guess, it's gotta be the prefectural police that they've got in their pocket. Or it's just RK.
I will say it's been great to hear your voice again. But this should be the last time you ever hear from me. I'll try my best.
I understand. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Les petits blaireaux des RK, ils sont que 6. Il y a même pas de chef.
It has a phone attached to it. Shoot it! Shoot it down!
You sure?
Just take it down! Hurry it up! Hey! What the fuck are you aiming at?
Non, il s'est pas visé, ça c'est clair. Oh là là, mais il y a des habitations en face, c'est fou.
Damn, dude. How the hell are we supposed to...
Dommage collatéral.
And where the fuck is this Kawana guy?
Who knows, man? They called us in to catch this shithead, but how the hell are we supposed to do that? It's fucked up. Do we look like spec ops?
Yeah, right. But at least you gotta shoot that thing.
This is my second time, actually. I took a few shots at some kids in a park. I aimed at the ground and sent those little shits running for their lives.
We're done here. Pack it in.
That's 6 punks and only 1 gun between you by my count.
Who the fuck are you?
It was you guys in charge.
Bah, tu sais pas que je suis Yagami?
Had this whole thing solved a long time ago.
Et tu sais pas ce que je vais faire? Je vais te mettre une tartine. Oui, en l'occurrence, je vais mettre une branlée.
Who's the one giving the orders?
À vous 6. Une branlée, les gars. Attention, vous êtes prêts? C'est parti!
It sounds like you must know Kawana.
Non, non, fini les discussions, on est prêt pour l'action, là!
Not gonna be leaving you empty-handed after all. Come on! We're taking this guy in, boys! Fuck him up!
Ouais, défoncez-le, les gars!
I wish you hadn't.
Il y en a un, il combat en tongs quand même, hein. En sandales même. T'as pas honte? You! Wow! Oui, il était temps, voilà! Allez, boum! T'as l'air d'être un peu le chef, Kaneko, c'est ça? Allez. Allez. Ishikawa, t'es fini. On essaie de rechanger. Voilà. Bon, c'est déjà fini. Oh bah les gars. J'ai même pas remangé un petit coup. Vous étiez que 6 hein, aussi. Ah, ça fait mal aux côtes, hein, bah oui, je comprends.
Who sent you here?
The order came from the head honchos in RK.
You mean Soma?
Not that high up. It was one of the bosses. There's a bunch of them.
What did they tell you to do?
Il y a tout un tas de boss de RK. Je croyais qu'il y en avait que 2, moi.
Well, they also
Soma et Akutsu. Akutsu. Je veux me battre contre Akutsu, s'il vous plaît. J'ai mis 3 fois ça branler sur un des épisodes précédents. Je voudrais recommencer, s'il vous plaît.
Just another useless grunt. Tell me, gentlemen, how would you feel if you found out you were just pawns in public security's game?
We're playing what game now?
D'accord.
I suggest you quit RK while you can. Go tell your buddies, get them out too. Otherwise, they'll keep you in the dark, use you and toss you aside. And then, you'll end up in a ditch there's no crawling out of.
Ah, je croyais qu'il allait se réveiller.
Yes.
Pardon me.
Mais t'es qui, toi? On t'a jamais vu?
Sir, it's a little late for this. And how'd you get in here in the first place? I've expressly forbid having visitors.
Calm now.
Bando.
I'm a coordinator with the National Police Bureau, but I'm sure you're familiar with my Division of Public Security. Bando is my name, ma'am.
Are you now? Well, I'm afraid coordinator is rather vague.
I have a more public-facing title as well, of course. But I'm trying to be discreet here, so let's not get bogged down with minor details. It's in our best interests. I'm afraid that won't help. I've already seen to that.
Oula. Je vous l'avais dit qu'elle serait en danger aussi.
There's a question I need answered with some urgency, Kusumoto-san. It concerns the disappearance of a certain individual.
Huh.
About 5 years ago, a man vanished off the streets of Kamurocho. I'm sure you'll...
Alors vous allez voir qu'il va lui remonter la même photo. Voilà. Ils ont qu'une photo du gars.
Shinya Kawai. I believe there are things you might know. I can say that with some level of certainty as a matter of fact.
Allez, nous passons à un nouveau chapitre. Chapitre 11, Incognito. Ah oui, quelques jours plus tard. Ah oui.
I figured Mitsuru Kusumoto would be in one of the better hospitals around the health ministry. That narrowed it down to just a few locations.
Ah d'accord, ils ont recherché l'hôpital où était le gamin.
And that led you to Toto University Hospital. So Mitsuru is still lying in a coma there?
Yep. Reiko Kusumoto has been visiting her son every night for the past 13 years. If you gentlemen want to meet her in person, that would be your best chance.
Yagami, you seriously think you
can
convince Reiko Kusumoto to turn herself in?
Well, I'm gonna try at least.
No,
she's at the top of the food chain. If it comes out that she committed murder, the whole country's gonna lose it.
If they hadn't tried to hide it, nobody else would have needed to pay for it. Sawa-sensei.
T'étais amoureux de Misawa ou quoi?
You're right.
And if she confesses to killing Kawai, public security will run out of reasons to keep defending RK. So in theory, that should free up the police to pursue Soma about Sawa-sensei.
Totally agree with you there.
But Kawana-san's against that, right? Didn't he say he wouldn't let her turn herself in?
Kawana va poser problème.
That's why he's not in the loop on this.
Ah d'accord.
So, you're just gonna show up? You do know she's probably surrounded by public security at all times, don't you?
Just means we gotta be prepared for that. Like the professional detectives we are.
Oui, t'as raison.
How?
Just leave it to us. Yagami-san, I gotta go get ready. Let's meet at Toto University Hospital.
Got it.
D'accord.
See ya.
À plus.
So what do you
Bon,
need from
t'as
me,
besoin de
Miss
moi
Yagami?
pourquoi, Yagami?
Got any old acquaintances in RK? Think you can find out where Soma and Akutsu are?
Akutsu!
Forget who you're talking to? Why wouldn't I be able to cover that?
Trouve-moi Akutsu, Higachi.
I knew a few ex-Tojo guys who go in and out of RK on the regular.
Alors je sais pas pour vous, mais je laisse un peu là-dessus.
Watch your back.
Et vous trouvez
Find
pas
out you're spying on them.
que lui et Kaito ils ont des chemises quand même? Si les Yakuza ils s'habillent tout le temps comme ça. Désolé, désolé Yakuza, toi qui regardes cette vidéo. Non, pardon. Non mais c'est pas possible, on est bien d'accord.
He's got extra time on his hands.
Enfin, celle de Kaito quand même, elle est...
I'll talk about that with Kaito-san once he recovers. Anyway, sorry Tsukumo.
Why start apologizing now? It's all good. We'll talk again.
Allez, on y va. Ah, j'avais oublié que j'avais une petite table devant moi. Faut que je fasse le tour. Allez, on y va. Alors bien sûr, vous avez des petites choses que vous pouvez faire dans... chez notre ami détective. Alors moi je les fais pas parce que je ne fais que l'intrigue principale. En tout cas en vidéo, ça m'est arrivé de faire des petites intrigues hors vidéo pour pouvoir améliorer notamment, alors je vais vous montrer notamment ici ses aptitudes. Vous voyez que je peux encore améliorer ses aptitudes. Bah, c'est ce que je vais faire d'ailleurs, autant en profiter. Vous voyez que c'est quand même pas mal rempli déjà. Et l'amplificateur de renversement, pourquoi pas. Je vais le prendre une deuxième fois. J'ai un 40 000 là mais qui est bloqué. Et j'aime bien, vous voyez qu'il me reste plus que 9000, donc j'ai pas mal de trucs à 10 000, donc c'est un peu dommage. Peut-être que la grue... Rétablissement du danseur. Vous voyez que j'ai quand même pas mal fait de choses ici. Et double pas chassé. C'est la petite danse. Je me fais une petite danse en fait. Et il faudrait que je mange aussi. Mais on n'a pas trop le temps, faut qu'on aille à l'hôpital. Je suis comment en vie? Parce que je vais quand même peut-être... Ah bah je suis bien en vie. C'est vrai qu'à chaque fois que je vais à Yokohama, je regagne toute ma vie en sortant. Voilà, j'y suis. Allez, on est devant l'hôpital. Ah bah elle sort. Ah bah c'est notre ami là. C'est Segura. Ah, ok. Bien vu les gars. Bah, je pense qu'elle le savait quand même.
What are you? Don't worry. I'll give it back to you after this. I'm sure it's bugged, and we wouldn't want anyone listening in now, would we?
We'll take a few laps around the block and then drop you back off at the hospital.
Oh bah ça va être louche si tu la ramènes à l'hôpital.
Very well.
Qui êtes-vous?
Who are you people?
Eh oui, Yagami, qui es-tu? Je suis détective.
We know about Mitsuru-kun.
Je tiens à signaler, je suis détective bastonneur quand même. Et avocat de temps en temps.
I have no idea what you're saying.
But you do.
Parce que je bastonne comme Bruce Lee, faut bien vous le dire.
So I assure you, we aren't the ones posing a threat.
Fine. What is it you want, then?
All I want is the truth. In your own words. About Shinya Kawai, and how you carried out his murder.
You're mistaken. I didn't do it.
Alors, pour rechercher autant que Kawai, est-ce que le mec qui est vraiment derrière tout ça, hein, je suppose que le gars qu'on a vu tout à l'heure à l'hôpital, c'est encore un sous-fifre, ça serait pas un parent de Kawai ou un oncle, hein, une tante, que sais-je encore, une cousine éloignée?
As it turns out, you are. Your cell phone is bugged. It can even use GPS to trace who's on the other end of the line. That kind of trace is only possible with cooperation from the cellular providers. Unless you're public security, you could pull something like that off in secret. They want to hit you where you're vulnerable. And that's what you are now after Kawana. Do you understand, Kusumoto-san? You must really be something special. You were never in this job for yourself. It fell into your lap as your predecessors fell like dominoes. That's why you don't owe anyone anything. You're free of constraints. And Mitsuru-kun's tragedy even gained you public sympathy on top of it. Combine all that with a capable bureaucrat like you, there's no telling what you could accomplish. You're cleaning up house, tackling the revolving door problems. Things you know are the right moves, but with no regard for the consequences. I understand even the cabinet gauges your opinion, since you have so much public support. But I think that's also made you some enemies. Most likely whoever's holding public security's leash.
I have more than a few enemies. I'm well aware of that. And I have no doubt public security would comply with them. To be quite frank, public security only exists to maintain the status quo. The establishment is made up of various powers which control politics and finance. But naturally, each branch has its own agendas, goals, ideas of justice, which leads to all sorts of issues and hindrances, which you call constraints. The more individuals who make up society,
j'ai l'impression que la petite dame avait pas être coopérative.
Are you implying it's public security's job to loosen those constraints?
There's more to it than that. The world we live in requires all kinds of value systems to coexist, even in chaos. But if you loosen the constraints too far, the fall of the state is inevitable. In that regard, public security's role is to stabilize and maintain the state, even while bound by constraints. In other words, the constraints of these powers are precisely what are protected by public security. So the fact that I am not caught up in all that does, indeed, make me something of a pesky foreign object.
A pesky foreign object. I see. So to these establishment people, you're something to be excised.
I guess there's bullying among adults in high places too.
Yeah. Now we know why they were looking for any kind of weakness in you. And that's when they turned the spotlight on Shinya Kawai's disappearance. An event that was triggered by Akihiro Ihara's case. You know the one, I presume.
Yes.
An active duty policeman exacted revenge on the bully who drove his son to suicide. Your enemies must have heard that and thought to themselves, what would Reiko Kusumoto have done to her son's bully? I'm guessing that's what prompted public security to make their move. As the details of Ihara's case came to light, a group of thugs calling themselves RK started looking for Shinya Kawai. All to find out that he was killed 5 years ago. Probably killed.
I never did anything out of revenge.
Even after finding out Kawai disappeared, public security still had to verify it. But if they found out you were involved, that'd be a win for them. They'd finally know Reiko Kusumoto's weakness.
How long are you going to keep talking?
As public security figured out, the bullying cases involving Toshiro Ihara and your son share a common link. That link being Sawa-sensei. She was Mitsuru-kun's classmate and Toshiro Ihara's teacher. Not only that, she was also linked to Ihara's murder victim, Mikoshiba. She was his master teacher. So, not long after the murder, RK came to Ijincho and broke into her home. That must have been when they got Kawana's name out of her. I think Sawa-sensei suspected that Kawana was involved in Mikoshiba's murder. Then Soma steps in, with his professional interrogation skills, to beat and scare her into spilling everything. Kusumoto-san, you knew she was killed, right? Kawana should have told you over the phone.
Wait, are you not one of his colleagues? He said he wouldn't cause me any trouble, and that he would never call me again.
Kawana and I are competitors on a temporary ceasefire. We're not colleagues.
Ah, ça va être à moi de jouer. On va commencer par celle-là. Comment va votre fils maintenant?
He could wake up any minute now. Of course, that's been true for the last 13 years.
I see.
Vous allez voir qu'avant la fin du jeu, il va se réveiller. C'est une évidence.
Hoping they could spur his recovery. But it turns out they don't do anything much different from the previous hospital. All I can do is wait.
Oui, on va faire celle-ci.
Has anybody from public security contacted you? Have you been approached by any strangers?
I have my suspicions.
Bando.
What are their names?
Bando. Allez, crache le nom.
I imagine
Bando.
what they wanted was to exploit your
Je le connais, moi.
control you. Because if all they wanted was to eliminate you, some kind of accident would be easily arranged.
Yes. I suppose you're right.
Do you have any idea what these people are after? And do you mind sharing?
What they want is control of the pension fund, which is under the Health Ministry's jurisdiction.
Pension fund?
An independent agency within the ministry manages the National Pension Fund. It's taxpayer funded, and it's worth 160 trillion yen.
What?
And certain groups want to take bigger risks with that money in order to generate more profit. In other words, they want the health ministry to use taxpayer money to gamble. They believe that's the only way to rebuild Japan's faltering economy and secure the future of this country.
I mean, would it work?
Of course, if the gamble actually pays off. But if we lost the gamble, then we wouldn't be able to guarantee anything for the citizens of this country in their golden years. That's why the health ministry manages those funds conservatively, even if it means the returns are lower.
Okay. I'm starting to understand now.
You do? Don't leave me in the dust, Yagami-san.
To be able to gamble all this taxpayer money to save the economy, they need a change of management. And here's Kusumoto-san, head of the office. And she's beyond the control of even the ministers. Her position has the power to take action, to override the way the pension fund is managed. But not only does Kusumoto-san have the power, she has the support of the people. If a new vice minister were to try it, they'd be stopped cold by the constraints.
So that's why they wanted to find her weakness and exploit it?
Exactly. And if the 160 trillion yen gamble were to fail, they could blame the whole thing on Kusumoto-san anyway.
Okay. Wow. 160 trillion.
I'm guessing they've already contacted you about it?
That's an assumption.
Allez, et on finit par la dernière question. Parlez-moi du meurtre de Kawai.
I have to ask you about Shinya Kawai. You killed him 5 years ago. With your own hands, didn't you? I understand what your feelings must be towards Kawai, but was that really the only answer?
If you've spoken to Kitakata-sensei, then you must know about the video of how Mitsuru was treated.
I do.
Aside from Kauai, the other students pretended like nothing happened. They took no responsibility. They put on their sad faces, and they came to visit Mitsuru at the hospital. But looking back on it now, I don't think they really wanted Mitsuru to wake up. In fact, that's what they were checking on. And what did I do? I bowed my head and thanked them. It was only later that Kitakata-sensei showed me the video. That's when I knew that those kids going unpunished was wrong.
And your solution was to pull them into the quagmire? Make them accomplices in murdering Kauai?
If you already know so much, what more do you need to ask?
I get it now. Let me reiterate. We are not your enemy.
Then please, let me go.
Anything you want me to tell Kawana?
I do. He needs to run. Far away. Public security has their sights on him. His capture is not a question of if, but when. He's in danger if he remains in the country. And once public security has him, they will extract everything he knows.
You mean he'd be tortured?
Yes. Somewhere well beyond the public eye. No one can withstand what they do. He'd tell them everything. And as for me...
They would expose your vulnerability, making you their pawn.
Most likely. They'd gamble away the taxpayers' money, and I'd never purge the corruption in the health ministry.
I get that. But what does it matter?
What?
Because in my opinion, you need to turn yourself in, Kusumoto-san.
You want me to admit to manslaughter? You think I killed a real man? I say he was less than one. Shinya Kauai. He was little more than a subhuman brute. And you saw it. You saw what that brute did to my son. I hated Kitakata-sensei. He was an incompetent teacher. An idiot who turned a blind eye to Mitsuru being tortured. But that changed when he suddenly showed up 8 years later. And then he showed me that video. He said, every bully in that video, they deserved to be punished. That it was the only way to get closure.
You took him up on it? But you of all people should have known better.
True. You're right about that. I struggled with it quite a bit. It's an unconscionable act, no matter how deep your animosity runs. But Kitakata-sensei's words hung on. I couldn't get them out of my head. I saw for myself. I went to Kamurocho, where I'd heard Kauai was working, at a girls' bar. So you know, after Mitsuru jumped that day, Kauai came to me in tears to apologize. I hadn't seen him in all that time. If he'd frozen in place when he saw me, if he'd been the slightest bit apologetic, I might have been able to stay my hand.
I take it he didn't do any of that.
Right. He didn't even recognize my face. And that's hardly the worst part of it, actually. When he saw me, he took me for some bawdy cougar on the prowl for young men. If you've got the cash, I'll show you a good time, he said. All those tears he'd shed years earlier were a farce. But I knew that. Deep down, I'd already known that. That was it. That was the moment I lost all doubt about killing him. And as for those other kids who bullied Mitsuru, they should thank me they didn't share his fate. But that's why I don't feel like I have any sins to atone for. Every night I pray he will wake up. What more can you ask me to endure?
Kawana said something similar. But you think you can repeat all that? this time say it to her.
Isn't that... Sawa-san?
You and Kawana can congratulate yourselves. You got vengeance on a monster. But what you're choosing not to see is that your actions had consequences for her. It's vicious.
Yagami, ce n'est juste qu'un dommage collatéral.
Someone innocent always pays the price.
Olivier, tais-toi. N'oublie pas, tu es Yagami, tu es amoureux. Enfin, tu l'étais. Voilà, on a fait le tour de l'hôpital.
So, if you have a change of heart, just give me a call before you turn yourself in. That's all I had to say. We're back.
Je suis de retour à Ijincho.
Yeah, I'm gonna go talk to Kawana. Need to tell him I met with Reiko Kusumoto.
He's gonna be pissed, you know? He's gonna try to rip you a new one.
That's true. So you might want to sit this one out.
You sure? 'Cause I'll totally take you up on that.
Oh non! Oh, attendez, c'est pas... Ah, trop tard.
Oh, you morons.
Let's go. Allez. Bah voilà, c'est fini.
And stay down.
Ah bah je crois qu'on va continuer à se battre. Ouh là là, mais il y a du monde. Bon.
Really, guys?
Bah il y en a qu'un qui m'a vu. Cool. Je pense qu'il faut que je passe par là. Pour parler à Kawana. Être du cul, t'es où? C'est pas là. Où c'est que tu t'es caché, trou du cul? Bon, ils ont remis toutes les chaises, hein. Ah, il est en bas.
Well, look who we have here. Haven't seen your mug in a while.
It's only been 2 or 3 days. Where's Kawana?
How should I put this? Would you freak out if he was right behind you?
You know, this kind of shit is why you get on my nerves.
Couldn't we have done this by phone?
I just came from seeing Reiko Kusumoto. I told her to turn herself in for murdering Kawai 5 years ago.
You what?
What did she have to say about that?
That she had no sins to atone for.
Of course not. Look, what do you think you're doing? Her part in this is done. Don't drag her back into it.
This isn't yours to finish. You would just let Sawa-sensei stay collateral damage. How do you think her folks feel? They probably think you killed their daughter, and they don't know why, or if justice will be served. Do they have to suffer like that? All without even knowing the truth? Would Sawa-sensei want that? You talk about justice, but she keeps getting left out. You aren't even trying when it comes to her.
Je vais pas encore me battre contre Kuwana quand même.
If you cause Kusumoto-san any more pain, I will never forgive you.
That's exactly why I didn't tell you I was going to meet her.
Listen, Yagami. She hides it well, but she's never gotten over the fact Mitsuru tried to jump to his death. And she's not sure how to feel about killing Kawai. Unlike me.
If she was anything like you, I would have pushed her harder to confess.
There's no evidence that she killed Kawai. He simply vanished from Kamurocho, and the police didn't even know about it. Besides, there's no case without a corpse. Point being, she'll never be charged.
Et oui, il a caché le corps, ça, on sait bien, mais où?
The police wouldn't know what to do with her.
Don't think for a second.
Il l'a bien caché parce que ça fait quand même 5 ans.
You've killed, what, 7 people now? Do you even hesitate anymore?
You got proof? Running around making baseless accusations. You sure you were a real fucking lawyer?
My colleagues in Kamurocho are getting ready to appeal Ahara's case. Your actions are going to be put under a microscope.
I wouldn't even call that bad news. I want the world to know their bullies are getting what they're due. And by then, I'll probably be going by a different name, maybe even a different look.
You're just gonna keep doing this? Did Sawa-sensei sacrifice mean nothing to you?
Is that the only thing keeping you around? Truth be told, I don't think exposing everything is even in Sawa's best interest.
What?
Sawa-kun herself felt guilty. I just sent you the proof.
What is this? An audio file?
After Ahara-san lost in court, she called me. I recorded our conversation.
Toshiro-kun came running to the roof. His face was pretty swollen. And a few minutes later, a student named Mikoshiba came up looking for him. I'll never forget the fear I saw in Toshiro-kun's face. He told me about everything. The teasing, the beatings, the theft. How nobody was on his side. And yet, I had to deny all this in front of an entire courtroom. They said there was no hope. That I was the only witness with no proof whatsoever. Believe me, I never wanted to do that.
Sawa-kun's testimony in court was false, and she was racked with guilt over it.
And your first thought was to record it? When she was at her most vulnerable?
Yes. And then I played it for Ihara-san. He had the right to know the real reason his son killed himself.
All you did was light the fires of vengeance in Ahara's heart because you didn't want to be alone.
You know, I've heard that bullying is almost instinctive. That's why people who do it never stop. I mean, think about it. Would you stop cleaning a toilet just because it'll get filthy again? Somebody's always got to get his hands dirty.
And that somebody's gonna be you?
Oh, la métaphore sur les toilettes.
Prevent another Mitsuru Kusumoto. Yes, I will keep killing. These bastards who prey on the defenseless must be punished for all to see. I wish the law would do its job. Because deep down, I don't want to do any of this.
I understand what you're saying, but you're taking it too far. Just stop, Kawana.
If you really want to stop me, you're gonna have to kill me. And call it justice.
I thought you guys were gonna start another fight. It was a bitch cleaning up the mess last time.
Next time I go up against him, it won't be just a few scratches.
Well, when that time comes, take it anywhere but here.
Allez, je vais me reposer au Yokohama. Parler à Kuwana, c'est fait. Et maintenant, je vais me reposer. Alors avant, je vais prendre des petits trucs. Et bah écoutez, nous, on va se laisser là-dessus, puisque je vais aller me reposer. Donc, moi-même, je vais faire la même chose. Je vous dis à bientôt. N'oubliez pas le pouce bleu. Et surtout, abonnez-vous. À bientôt. Je suis jamais allé par là.